Saurabh. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this edition of 60 Days, 60 Voices. This, as I mentioned to you when we spoke briefly, is a series we started way back in March, and essentially to have conversations with stakeholders across a wide spectrum to talk about what they are seeing, as part of what's happening because of COVID, and how they're responding, what changes are they seeing in the environment, and how do what changes do they foresee both individuals, organizations, etc. would need to make to adapt to the new world or the new normal, right? So quickly, a quick introduction about Nudge. So Nudge started in 2015, and in a very short span of about 5 years, made a huge impact. About impacted over 1 million individuals in 15 states, about 50 plus partners, and has built a really strong, credible name for influencing and making a huge difference in several areas, in skilling, in poverty alleviation, and so on. So welcome aboard, Saurabh.
Thanks,
And
Avisa. Thank you for
and
having me
we are
here.
now, I think, in the day 58 of the lockdown, right? And obviously, during this period, a lot of things have changed, right? So first hand, what I thought I'll ask you is, tell us, what are you seeing or what are you hearing on the ground from all the stakeholders you work with?
So, Avisa, first of all, thanks for having me here. Consider it a privilege to be one of the voices to be heard here. Uh, See, at the Nudge, one of the things that we consider our flagship program is the Gurukul program, which is largely the skill development program that we have. The biggest stakeholder there is the student, the youth of our country here, which we are trying to support through a training program that allows them to not just be ready for a job, but to be ready for life. Now, given that the youth is not able to come to our residential training centers where we impart this because of all the COVID-related restrictions that exist, with our inability to run the gurukuls physically, has really hampered the way that our youth can get benefited from the program. So, for example, even the youth that were already part of the program have had to be sent back. And while we are still working with them in trying to get them, upgraded with all the skills that we would impart in a physical setting, we're still trying to do that virtually. But the efficacy of that, given that it was a very sudden shift, may not be as much. And that is something that I know we are not happy about. And I'm pretty sure the youth, while they may not realize it, is being affected negatively because of this. So that is probably in our minds the biggest sort of hit that we're seeing. That's one. The second, of course, is the entire economy going down, with jobs being massively hit across sectors, especially in the service sectors where we were very heavily focused as an organization. And therefore, not being able to provide the best jobs to our alumni, to our students, is the other area that we have been massively hit, and our stakeholders consequently are suffering because of that.
Okay. So you mentioned that obviously there's a significant impact on jobs, and so two questions, sort of leading from that. So one is, in the context of the fact that temporarily, at least, there will be potentially, the kind of skills which may be required or the kind of jobs which will be required will change. So what do you see as the most important characteristics? And you talked about, you're basically giving people not just, you're not just teaching them a technical skill or a vocational skill, but also life skills. So what do you think is the most important thing that they'll learn now need to, to get on to be able to, to get through this very difficult phase and get into, to first of all, get themselves back onto a steady footing?
No, great question, Emisa. I think a lot of people ask us, so what is the other sector that is going to be creating these jobs, and what should you train for, right? And our belief at the Nudge has always been, right from the very beginning, that instead of giving them a job ready or making them job ready and giving them a specific job skill, can we make them prepared to handle life in general, and job being just one aspect of it, right? So from that perspective, our focus on life skills and overall development of not just a technical skill, but also their basic English, mathematics, financial skills, ability to think, make decisions, ability to sort of have frameworks in which to think about things, are something that we have been constantly focused on. And therefore, instead of finding an alternate sector, which is an important answer, and right now it's so uncertain that I don't think anybody has a very clear answer. I mean, of course, healthcare comes up first. But the most important characteristic, and I'm glad you said that, is adaptability. How do you make somebody adaptable, or how does a youth become adaptable to know that they were trained for a particular sector or for a particular kind of a job, but how do you then use opportunities to transfer to a different sector as the industry evolves, as the economy evolves, right? That's exactly the kind of resilience that we need to build in all of our youth today, knowing the uncertainties of the current scenario. And that resilience is what will ensure that they don't keep falling back into poverty each time economy gets hit and a sector gets affected because of that. So the reason somebody will be able to continue is if they are able to adapt, be resilient to any of these changes, and pick up skills along the way. They may not have the skills, but having that attitude, having the ability to pick up skills, and I mean, again, knowing how to keep learning is a very important aspect that all of our youth need to carry along with them. And that is something that we will continue to focus on as part of our program that we deliver at the Gurukuls or beyond.
So any new programs, initiatives to reinforce this, what you spoke about, this adaptability and resilience? Are you thinking about anything new which you are going to be doing?
Sure. Uh, so as you know, the Gurukul is a residential program, and when the COVID hit, we had to discontinue the Gurukuls and shut down the Gurukuls to maintain social distances and safety of our students, our staff, etc. But very quickly, what we did was we created a new program which had which was delivered purely online. It was a very employability focused program that would provide these softer skills to youth who are more or less ready to take up jobs. So while it would be a short and lower contact program with our youth, this program, which we are calling Job Set Go, is a job oriented program in ensuring that they understand what it means to have a career, what it means to get a job and continue to grow in that path, and the employability skills needed therein, which are largely around workplace communications and ethics and attitude, and again, decision making and things like that, right? So that is being delivered purely online right now at this point in time. Whether it is as effective as it would have been in the physical scenario, maybe not. But then circumstances are such that we are having to adapt. Like I said, adaptability is the key. We are also having to adapt at this point of time. And we're doing the best that we can in this time to make sure that the impact is maximized in whatever capacity we are able to create that impact in. So that is the program that we're working on.
Sure. So moving forward from if you take a slightly more mid to long-term view, right? Where do you see opportunities for collaboration between, so I know you work with 50 partners, but what are they telling you about what are the new things, or, some early conversations you must be having? Maybe you could share some of those insights.
So MSR, one of the things that is not a secret anymore is just the way migrants have felt treated in this time. And what were once very lucrative migration corridors where people would migrate regularly, come into Bangalore, for example, where all the jobs were concentrated, and therefore there was a certain value chain and impact that we could create there. Things are going to change now, right? People are not going to be as amenable to migration or as open to migration as they were in the past. And therefore, even when the jobs do open up here, how many people come in to take these jobs? Because migrants were taking up a bulk of these jobs anyway, and they were contributing to the economy. They were not recognized for it, but they were contributing immensely to the economy. Now, with these people not coming into where the jobs are, it's very unlikely the jobs will go there automatically. These jobs will not automatically shift to these rural parts where the migration was happening from. So therefore, I think today the need for us to find uh, viable options for the youth to be gainfully either employed or doing something and creating value is even greater today than it was in the past. And I think one of the things that uh, comes to mind first is, can we create entrepreneurs out of them, and not just micro entrepreneurs? Can we create mass entrepreneurs, like you guys call it, right? Can we create people who can create another 3 or 4 or 5 jobs, so that there could be others in that ecosystem or in that area that could benefit from there? Today, that ecosystem uh, is not very large scale. You guys are doing some great work and tremendous work in that area, and I think it's a great direction to move in. Uh, so therefore, when we are talking about youth, while we can skill them and we will give them skills, I think a part of the solution would also include creating these entrepreneurs over time. Maybe not as soon as they're 18 or 19, but maybe 3 years down the line, once they have some basic confidence and skills, where we could provide them mentorship, we could provide them uh, you know uh, like real life support in terms of running their businesses, as well as having access to credit and finance and things like that, which is absent at this point of time, in my opinion. And I think that is an area where we could definitely collaborate, where many of our youth that are trained and have gone back for either lack of opportunity or for the low confidence in the urban life, that these things can come into play. So I think that's an area that we should definitely look at collaborating.
Sure. So I'm going to take you up on that, Saurabh.
I'm going to look forward to that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain. I was reading. In fact, in one of our earlier discussions with there are 7,700 towns with more than 50,000 people population in India, right? And so obviously a lot of this migration is from the large metros. Many of them will go back to where they came from. But I think over a period of time, many of these, I'm not saying 7,000, that's a very large number, but at least, maybe 70 of those, for example, right? 1% of the 7,000, where some of these new businesses could be, built, incubated. And obviously, uh, you know, the work you guys are doing in terms of getting people to build life skills, right? Would be very handy in terms of figuring out how we can collaborate and so on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
We're
thank
looking
you. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate your time and look forward to working together closer in the times ahead.
Thanks, Mr. It was a pleasure talking to you as well. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.